What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com, FightfulMMA.com. Go there and get all of your MMA, boxing, wrestling news. Over at FightfulMMA.com, we cover boxing and MMA, including this Saturday's UFC 250 show, headlined by Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. I'm picking Amanda Nunes to win this. I will elaborate shortly. But it's an okay card. It's not a great card. There are some things I think they could have done to make it better. But let's go ahead and get into it. We're back to a 12-fight card. It kicks off with Evan Dunham, a plus 180 against the minus 220 Herbert Burns. This card at times feels like UFC 2013, the Lost Tapes. You have Herbert Burns, who was on a hot streak in Titan. You had he's on a bit of a hot streak in the UFC and Contender Series. He won both of his fights there. And Evan Dunham, who is likely fighting for his career. Likely. Evan Dunham withdrew from his fight in April. He lost to Francisco Trinaldo the last time he fought way back in 2018. He lost to Olivier Aubin-Mercier earlier that year. I know he had the fight with Taisimov canceled that Aubin-Mercier replaced him in. He had a draw against Midil Dariush back in 2017. He got injured when he was supposed to fight Abel Trujillo in 2017. And even before his win against Rick Glenn, way back in 2016, way back then, he had trouble getting into the cage. He got pulled from the James Vick fight. He was just hard to get into the cage. I think he's fighting for his career here. I think Herbert Burns ends up winning this. You have Alonzo Minifield, a minus 220 against the plus 180 Devin Clark. This one was rescheduled. I look at Alonzo Minifield as a guy, obviously he got into MMA late. He's 32 years old. He is a light heavyweight, but he has been showing up and finishing people very, very early. Whether it's Contender Series, whether it's UFC, it doesn't matter. This guy has been popping up and winning. However, he has been out of the cage for a year. They had the fight that was withdrew due to coronavirus. He pulled out of the Trevor Smith fight. We have not seen him really take this long off. Devin Clark has been inconsistent at best. But the thing is, he has also consistently been in the cage. How that plays into this, I don't know. Jussier Formiga taking on Alex Perez. Formiga is a plus 115 favorite. He would be one of my I got 5 on it picks, even as a plus 115. I think there's some betting value on him because you can always count on Formiga putting forth a good performance, and he is against the minus 135 Alex Perez. Now, the thing is, Formiga has lost his last 2 fights. This is a far cry from the guy we were seeing a year and a half ago, the guy who had been perpetually in the mix. Alex Perez has been awesome. He's won 5 of 6 in the UFC. The only guy he's lost to is Joseph Benavidez. So I think that Alex Perez would win this fight. I think that momentum is important in MMA. I know that's a joke we make in UFC or in WWE coverage and stuff, but I think it is actually a little bit important in the UFC, and I think that Alex Perez has that. I'm picking him to win, but I got to do my 3 I got 5 on it, and Jussier Formiga is one of those. For those of you who don't know, I do I got 5 on it picks where I have 3 betting underdogs from each show that I would put 5 on. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to win, but I get 5 on it. Charles Byrd, a minus 170 against Maki Pitolo. Maki is plus 150 in this one, and I look at this, and this one is a little bit more unpredictable. Charles Byrd has lost his last 2 fights. He is a much bigger fighter from what I remember. Even though their height and reach is pretty much the same, I'm pretty sure that Pitolo had been fighting at welterweight. So I feel Charles Byrd, 36 years old, though you never know when they're just going to lose that. I also have 5 on Brian Kelleher at plus 225 against Cody Stamann, minus 265. I hate to say this, but Cody Stamann's going through a lot right now. His brother passed away, and as far as we know, he's still going to fight. He's an amazing fighter. Under almost every other circumstance, I got him running away with this. You lose a family member and you're still fighting. It's hard to really comprehend how that is going to affect somebody and cause them to react in the cage. Cody Stamann also has not been able to finish anybody since 2017. I think he's had 6 straight fights where he hasn't been able to finish anybody. Kelleher has been able to. In fact, that's what he's relied on. We saw him meet quite a bit of success in the UFC by doing that to Yuri Alcantara and Damian Stasiak, and he got put away by Montel Jackson and John Lineker, and it's like it woke him up this year, and he's been finishing people with the wins over Hunter Azure and Ode Osborne. I don't think he's going to give Stamann any breaks. He did send a heartfelt message to the family of Cody Stamann, which was a classy move on Kelleher's part. I got Kelleher at plus 225, but I think that Stamann could win this. Ian Heinisch, a minus 130 against the plus 110 Gerald Meerschaert. This is a better fight than anybody is giving it credit. I thought that Heinisch was going to be a person who emerged at middleweight and would be a mainstay. If he loses to Meerschaert, I don't think he's going to be a mainstay. Meerschaert was also on a really good hot streak until, I think it was December, until he fought Jack Hermanson. And he's won 2 of his last 3. Like, he's had some pretty good fights. He had that fantastic submission over Deron Wynn. He had that good one over Trevin Giles. I think he's going to beat Heinisch. I think he's a more well-rounded fighter. I think he's a better fighter. I got him emerging victorious here. Alex Caceres, man. Bruce Leroy still out there doing it. He is a plus 145 against the minus 165 Chase Hooper. And Alex Caceres has quietly rotated wins and losses over the last couple of years. He's won 2 of his last 3. But Chase Hooper has stepped in and done really well. He had that win over Daniel Tamer. He won at Titan FC. He won in Contender Series. There isn't a lot that indicates to me that there are a lot of holes in Chase Hooper's game that are going to be exposed here, but he is 20 years old. He's very young. He does have a lot to learn. So maybe it's the inexperience factor, because you're not going to accuse Alex Caceres of being inexperienced. He has been in this since Chase Hooper was like 7 years old. 7 years old. So I think that could end up playing a big role in all this. And it would be a bummer for Chase Hooper after stepping into the UFC and having that impressive performance in December to lose to a guy who is 15-12, I believe, is Caceres. I think the line is a little bit closer than that. I'd have it at plus 115 Caceres, maybe a minus 120 Hooper. Well, I got 5 on Eddie Wineland. Plus 380 over the minus 475 Sugar Sean O'Malley. Do I think O'Malley's going to win? Yeah, probably. And O'Malley came back and won and looked awesome in March. But again, we talk about the experience. But here's the thing. Don't let Sean O'Malley's age fool you. A lot of people think of Sean O'Malley and they think, oh, well, he was like 22 when he was on Contender Series and all that. Yeah, but he's been fighting since 2013. Eddie Wineland's been fighting since 2003. I don't think that plays to his advantage here. He did beat Gregory Popov. He showed that he still had the power, and that was one of the questions. Can he win, much less finish? And he did that. I'm expecting a finish here. I think Eddie Wineland wants to win this fight, put a stamp on Sean O'Malley, and sort of cement his name again to show people that he is still worthy of being talked about. And when I look at you and I see you working your way up to the top or back to the top. I mean, he hasn't been on a pay-per-view main card since 2013 against Barao. You got to beat a guy like Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley wants to beat a former title challenger, of course. I like that O'Malley got this. It's not a name, but it is a name that you'll remember. I think Sean O'Malley's going to win this, probably within 2 rounds. But at those betting odds, at plus 380, I think it's worth a roll of the dice. But it isn't necessarily inexperienced. Sean O'Malley's been fighting 7 years. Neil Magny, a minus 140 against Anthony Rocco Martin. I like these lines right where it is. I enjoy watching Neil Magny. This guy is really good and not always the most exciting fighter. I'm not going to accuse of him being. And neither is Rocco Martin. I mean, he stepped into the UFC and it's been kind of inconsistent. It's first off, it's insane for me to think that Rocco Martin's been in the UFC for 6 years. But Rocco Martin has, at one point, I think he'd won 7 of 8, and then he lost to Maia via that majority decision. But he's exceptional. This is a much higher level fight than anybody is giving it credit. You want to look at the people who've beaten Neil Magny over the last few years? Santiago Ponzinibbio, Rafael dos Anjos, Lorenz Larkin, Damian Maia. Since 2014, when he just went apeshit bananas, guano crazy, and started to fight all the time, those are the only people that beat him. He's beaten Kelvin Gastelum. He's beaten Hector Lombard. He's beaten Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit, Li Jingyang. He's beaten a lot of really good fighters. This is a good fight. I think Neil Magny's going to win, but it would not shock me to see Anthony Rocco Martin emerge victorious. Why in the fuck, pardon me, is Hassan Sal and Garbrandt listed as the co-main event? Why? Cody Garbrandt has lost 3 fights in a row. He pulled out of this fight in March. He pulled out of a fight against Dillashaw before the 3-fight losing streak. Garbrandt's last win was 2016. He is taking on Rafael Assunção, whose last win was 2018. He's lost 2 in a row. Rafael Assunção's last fight was against somebody that is on this card and we're about to talk about. This should not be the co-main event. This is embarrassing. And the sad reality is, UFC is more likely to put the title match or the title fight as Assunção versus Garbrandt than the fight that matters more, Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. Now, first off, I'm going to say Cody Garbrandt minus 145, Assunção plus 125. Take Assunção there. Garbrandt has shown me nothing to indicate that he has improved, that he has filled in holes. Assunção has shown me the ability to at least emerge on the better side of a devastating ankle injury in a footwork-heavy division and not only be able to make up for that, but excel at that. While Garbrandt, from what I've seen, no marked improvements. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. The co-main event should be Aljamain Sterling minus 115, Corey Sandhagen minus 105. Boy, do the betting lines have it right there, because that's a hell of a fight. That's a hell of a fight. And quite frankly, if I'm the UFC and I got this real paper-thin card from a casual perspective, I'm saying, you know what? Let's get the ball rolling on this division. Title fight, Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen, Bantamweight Championship. Here you go. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, what about Peter Yan? And that's understandable, and that's okay. It's all right for you to think that. Peter Yan deserves a title shot. He's 6-0. He beat Dodson, Rivera, Faber. Sure. Give him the winner of this then. Because Aljamain Sterling has won 6 of his last 7. The only person he lost to was Marlon Moraes, who just got a title fight and lost. Sterling has beaten Barao, Brett Johns, who was 15-0, mind you. Cody Stamann, who was 17-1, mind you. Jimmy Rivera, who was 22-2, mind you. Pedro Munoz, who was 18-3, mind you, in a fantastic fight. He beat Stamann with one of the best submissions of 2018. He deserves a title shot. Those 3 men deserve a title shot. So does this Corey Sandhagen fella who, by the way, beat Rafael Assunção. He beat John Lineker. He's sitting at 5-0 in the UFC. This is a hell of a fight. hell of a fight. I don't have a winner for you. I can't break this down and say I think this person's going to win. Aljamain Sterling emerged in the UFC 6 years ago. And when he emerged in the UFC 6 years ago, he was a 23, 24-year-old prospect. And he had some growing to do. And he still showed up and won his first 4 fights and beat guys like Mizugaki and Johnny Eduardo, who were very good. He lost to Caraway. He lost to a Sun Sal. And then he emerged and became the fighter that he is. Yeah, the Marias knockout, that's going to happen sometimes. That's going to happen sometimes. But you know what? Marias got his title fight. And he lost it. Aljamain Sterling is now, from that 23, 24-year-old prospect, this 30-year-old refined MMA fighter who admittedly has a couple holes but has rounded out his game exceptionally. Corey Sandhagen, on the other hand, a 28-year-old who we saw burst onto the scene as a 25, 26-year-old, had fought around in RFA and LFA. He's very good. He's able to finish you on the feet, on the ground. He's able to submit you. But lately, we've seen him go into the scorecards. And fortunately, this is not a main event. This is a 3-round fight. I think I have Aljamain Sterling here. But Corey Sandhagen has excelled against top-level competition. Oh, boy. You know what? I respect Amanda Nunes immensely. I think she's the greatest female MMA fighter of all time. I respect her willingness to defend that featherweight championship. She won it from Chris Cyborg. She went back to bantamweight. She beat Holly Holm. And not only did she beat Holly Holm, who very well could have been the first featherweight champion, a woman who fights at featherweight a lot. Then Amanda Nunes said, you know what? I'm going to defend my bantamweight title, but I'm going to do it against a woman who won the featherweight title and never lost it, Jermaine Durandamy. Beat her too. Beat Chris Cyborg. Beat Valentina Shevchenko. Greatest flyweight of all time. Beat her twice. Great fights. Beat Ronda Rousey. Beat Miesha Tate. She has beaten the best of the best. Hey, you can say she beat a Raw Women's Champion and an NXT Women's Champion too, if you want to go that route. She's beaten Julia Budd, who was the Bellator featherweight champion. By far the greatest champion that they have seen before Cyborg took it over. So she's beaten their other champion as well. She's like, you know what? I'm not done with this featherweight title. It's paper thin, this division. It sucks. But you know what? We got a girl up there who's 2-1. You all need some fights. She won her last fight in February. Even though it was a catastrophic mismatch, here you go. Amanda Nunes will likely finish Felicia Spencer within a round. The betting odds are minus 650 Nunes, plus 475 Felicia Spencer. I would probably go and take that under. There is an under bet at plus 165 for the fight ending in less than 1.5 rounds. Man, there is a betting line that has Nunes winning in round 1 at plus 225. I'd take that too. However, the betting line for Nunes winning by KO or TKO, minus 227. That's appropriate. We will likely be here doing a main event watch-along of this. Hope you all join us. We hope you all go to our discus boards on the article and make your pick'em choices for this show. And join us Saturday night. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people that join in on these live coverages. But thank you all very much. Until next time, leave a thumbs up and subscribe. We're out.